Saint-Malo, in the west of France. I was born here in 1780. This city shaped my mind and my character, through the way of life contained within its walls and the winds blowing in off the channel. Everything here seemed to be inviting me to go beyond the city ramparts and set out on an adventure.
More than 200 years ago, Jean-Marie de la Mennais walked these very streets. His mind was filled with the same questions as are the minds of young people today. What do I dream of doing with my life? What am I capable of achieving? What kind of person do I want to be in 10 years' time?
Yes, that's true. I was already wondering, what is the meaning of my life? And I did not yet have the answer.
Throughout Jean-Marie's childhood, this young dreamer was fascinated by the wide expanse of the sea. But whilst still a child, his carefree nature was to be put to the test by the death of his mother. The French Revolution soon followed, bringing its own portion of misery and violence.
The revolution had devastated the population, especially the poorest. Thousands of young people were left to fend for themselves, deprived of the chance to go to school. They lost all hope for the future, and this upset me deeply. I had been fortunate to receive a good education and was passionate about books and learning. I felt a duty towards these children who were far less fortunate than I was. I was convinced that being deprived of an education would be an insurmountable handicap. My desire to help them in some way was certainly going to change my life, but to what extent I was as yet unaware. In our house at La Chenée, where I regularly found myself with my brother Feli, I wrote an outline for 1,000 projects that my heart was drawn towards realizing. I later called this my torrent of initial ideas, and the intuitions contained within would guide my work throughout the rest of my life.
Despite all the obstacles that lay ahead, Jean-Marie had given his life meaning. He would dedicate himself fully to the task of educating young people. His spirit of dynamism and creativity would inspire generations of people to follow his example. He released his dream of enabling young people to build their lives on the solid foundations of good education by establishing the model for a different type of school. He allowed the young to take control of their own destinies, to grow and develop, to find their place in the world and to make a difference to that world. And 200 years later, this same Mennaisian spirit is still fully alive and fully relevant, emphasizing the importance of good human relationships, of high-quality education, of developing in young people their self-confidence, creativity, and independence. As a teenager during the French Revolution, Jean-Marie demonstrated great courage through providing help to priests suffering persecution. He was deeply inspired and influenced by the example of their lives. He desired to become like this extraordinary man who risked all for the sake of an ideal.
Despite numerous challenges, I was ordained a priest in February 1804. One of my first assignments was to teach at the seminary in Saint-Malo. This experience strengthened and confirmed my initial intuition that education really is the means through which a person decides his or her future, and that a school is not only a classroom, but also a place for the healing and consolidation of the human person. He was a fascinating character who had some very interesting ideas about the nature of humanity. He was not just concerned with teaching people a trade, but believed also in the importance of not living by bread alone.
Jean-Marie soon began laying the foundations of his ministry, serving the poor children of rural Brittany. Another priest became driven by the same motivation. His name was Gabriel Deschais. Living among the ordinary people, he provided particular assistance to the unemployed, to prisoners, and to the deaf. In 1820, they spent a pivotal week together in the chapel of the Eternal Father at Orai. This was where the Brothers of Christian Instruction received their identity and their motto, God alone, they would devote their lives to the education of children and young people, their mission being to save children at any cost from social, intellectual, and spiritual poverty.
For Gabriel and myself, education should help to develop the whole person, their intellect, their values, their heart and emotions, their body and their soul. It is important for a young person to have reliable reference points in their lives, for which they need good, dependable teachers. Back to Saint-Brieuc, I began developing the formation of the Brothers of Christian Instruction. Who were they, these early pioneers? They were willing young men of good character who agreed to be sent one by one, or two by two, into the countryside of Brittany to teach abandoned children. At the same time, I began guiding some generous young women in Saint-Brieuc to help them work with girls and teenagers who were roaming the streets. These women also chose to dedicate their whole lives to this mission through a religious vocation. And that is how the Daughters of Providence were born. In 1824, I decided to move to Ploermel, which thus became the beating heart of our new congregation.
Jean-Marie received more and more requests from different sources, traveling around Brittany tirelessly, advising the brothers, writing to them thousands of letters, sharing with them his vision of education. He was recognized and respected for his courage and stubbornness, in particular by his opponents.
I'm absolutely delighted. More and more young men are coming to us with the desire to become brothers, committing themselves with courage and energy to meet the needs of young people and their families.
Camp leaders have a very important role, especially through the discussions they have with us, through the way that they can help us to evolve, to grow, and to think and to live out the values of sharing, fraternity, and solidarity. They educate me with values that I can apply to the rest of my life.
I always start from the principle that my initial education came from my parents. This was followed by the education I received at school and by the education from other outside influences. The Mennais network has been for me another source of education, completing what I received from my parents and my school, bringing me into contact with other young people and adults, and learning from them how to live as part of a group.
This is a place that really allows us to be ourselves, to discover and affirm our true identities without being judged. Each person is welcomed just as they are.
In 1836, the Minister of the Marine asked me to send some of my brothers to the other side of the world to provide education to the people of the West Indies, both freemen and slaves. I'd never imagined that my congregation would even expand beyond Brittany, let alone abroad.
And yet, more than 50 brothers volunteered to leave for the mission. From this point onwards, the brothers have always had a strong missionary spirit. Hundreds of them left France for French Guiana, Guadeloupe, Martinique, and then Senegal and other countries. Over the past 200 years, 2,500 brothers have left their country of origin to work as missionaries in more than 35 countries. Today, this incredible Mennaisian missionary spirit continues to develop across numerous languages and cultures on all 5 continents. These brothers are the foundation of our network's activity. The Mennaisian school is carried and sustained by these educators. Thanks to their dedication, our shared adventure will continue to grow and develop in the future. Since the beginning, numerous lay people, men and women, have worked alongside them. In Saint-Brieuc, a community of 5 brothers live out the Mennaisian ideal as teachers, having all retired from full-time teaching. They, nothing less, decided to create the VICOM Association. Their goal is to reconcile young people with their school environment, those who have been temporarily excluded from their school due to the problems of discipline or behavior.
Here, things are quite straightforward. We just try to help you to do what's necessary. I'd like to work with you, and if possible, help you to develop the right attitude in the classroom, and help you to remember information without always having to write it down. We're there to help the child get back on his or her feet and to continue growing and developing. This is how we live out the educational charism of Jean-Marie de Lamennais, who emphasized the need to develop the whole person. For young people, the process of learning and understanding must remain a pleasure. The school must give them the opportunity to get to know and develop themselves. Having found their place in the classroom, they are equipped to also take their place in society. To enable this, the teacher must maintain a particular quality of presence among the young people, a presence founded on gentleness and firmness. They do not judge us. I learned a lot more about myself by being with them than by talking with other teachers. Their approach goes much deeper. I have the chance to be accompanied by people who help me, who really want to help me, and who really care. It's not like at school. Sometimes you have a problem and the teachers won't necessarily come to help you. It's this attitude that I like most in the brothers.
Over the years, the members of the Mennais network have always been creative and enterprising. They have founded educational projects that range from the nursery through to university, embracing agriculture, maritime, and technical schools. Everywhere they have responded to the needs of the local society, just as Jean-Marie de Lamennais desired it. From the very beginning, these men and women had a passion for young people and the desire to respond to their needs, helping them to achieve their full potential.
For example, the fact that each day people say hello to one another, this may seem trivial, but it is actually really important, because as a result, we feel a little more appreciated. People show respect to each other, and each individual is valued. The particular style of education that our school offers responds to the needs of today's industries and the current financial landscape. Our business partners are looking for well-grounded, solid young people who have the right set of values. Because in today's world, these are the qualities that will give young people the best chance of a successful future.
Là, je l'ai pas essayé. Comme ça, c'est bon, toi. Ouais, c'est vachement mieux. Tu vois, là, au moins, tu appliqué bien au fond. Là, tu peux même couper en deux et là, hein. Là, ce qu'il faut, c'est recouvrir toute ta zone carbone.
Rules are not there to just punish the individual, but rather to ensure the well-being of the whole community. The motto of the school is "Live well together so as to succeed together." The creativity of my brothers and Mennaisian lay people is never limited to just the classroom. Their values of solidarity, commitment, and sharing with those in need are among the most important that I wish to convey to young people.
In addition to work done in each educational center, many charities and associations exist in our worldwide network.
A Mennaisian institution is a fraternal space where one learns to weave a tapestry of relationships with others. Through daily gestures of hospitality, attention to the needs of others, and the care given to those who are at risk of loneliness or exclusion, Mennaisian educators are the authors of a new, more just, and more fraternal style of education. It's like being in a very large family. We have a 10-hectare property where there is always plenty of work to do. By learning to work together, we see our pupils in a different light, with certain qualities only revealing themselves outside of the classroom. Okay, let's do it.
Each person is in 3D. I say this to the kids. They like 3D, but what about the 3 Cs? When I meet a future student of ours for the first time, I ask him that too. He probably says to himself, the 3 Cs. What's he going on about? But at least he's thinking. That's the first C in French, the cerveau, the thinking brain. We take care of that here, as we all need to develop our brains. So don't worry, we get great exam results. No problem. 95% or even 100%. That's not the most difficult thing. After that, the body also has to be in good health. And this is the second C. In French, the corps, or body. We do a great deal of sport with the pupils. We keep them moving and don't allow them to become couch potatoes. But the centerpiece, which gives life to the whole, it's the third C. In French, the cœur, or heart. Being successful is not the be-all and end-all of school life here. Everyone must succeed. We cannot deny it. But we must first of all help each young person to develop their personality and character, offering them every opportunity to develop their talents and experience life in all its fullness. We have plenty of fun together. We play football with the youngsters. We go to the swimming pool. There's also a mountain bike club, a metalwork and mechanical repairs workshop, video games. It's great.
The Mennais network has become a big family. It promotes fraternal life, welcoming the stranger, and reconciliation. We learn to live together and take our responsibilities.
Before I came here, I didn't have to clean my room. That's not my thing. I always left things in a mess. But while I'm here, I have to fold things up, tidy my space, put things in order. We even have to sweep the dining room with a broom, clean the tables and the classroom. Lots of things like that which teach us about daily life. In my previous school, I would go home for lunch, and I didn't have many friendships. But now that I stay here all the time, I'm more involved in things, and I like it much more, because it's as if we're all brothers. It's more friendly and fraternal here. Educate through the quality of your presence among the young. Become their guardian angels. This is the heart of what I believe. We must develop projects that unify both students and teachers.
2 years ago, when we started to call our school an eco-school, we wanted to improve the living environment of students. Since then, we've planted flowers, we've made furniture from pallets, we've decorated our bins or trash cans, so as to attract the eye and make it more likely that people will put waste in the bins and not drop it on the ground. All these objects have been designed and realized by the students. We, the teachers, are there to support them and enable them to put their skills and talents at the service of our eco-school project.
Personally, I'm really happy to participate. I feel more useful, and I'm able to help create and finish projects. We think and plan together, and I find that really rewarding. We discuss, we create things. We're all happy to be involved in such projects, because they open us up to the outside world. They force us to leave our own personal bubble.
Quelqu'un peut tester les micros? 3 ou 4?
Le micro 4, il est branché ou pas?
Les 3 et 4 sont pas encore testés.
Initially, I just wanted to belong to a group, to experience at least once what it's like to be a member of a proper team and to have fun together. But it's also allowed me to open up more to other people. I also enjoy speaking on the radio. It helps me to improve the way I talk to others. Even if it is from behind a microphone, it still helps me to be more open and to communicate better with others.
Across the whole world, men and women find nourishment for their lives in the spirit of Jean-Marie de Lamennais, each according to his or her own way of life. Together they form a family, a place where you feel welcomed, trusted, where you can grow, where there are people on whom you can rely, enabling you to give the best of yourself. This is a place of belonging. This is the Mennaisian family. Teams, groups, fraternities and communities that come together regularly in a shared mission.
Building a better world together with people I did not choose. This is true brotherhood. Whether it be a pupil in a class or a student living in an apartment attached to a brother's community, the individual person experiences a form of fraternal living with people that he or she has not chosen. Such students may be enrolled in very different programs of study. They may have completely different skill sets and be at different stages in their studies. But at the same time, they are all young people who, through their diversity, build up the society in which we live.
This fraternity is all the more important for us in that it is rooted in the gospel. Each person must be able to grow in all aspects of their being, to experience the values of the gospel through a combination of instruction, education, and evangelization. We can always count on our fellow brothers, whoever they are, and we can always count on Christ. This allows us to be flexible. I may be in Rennes or in Mexico or in Africa. It does not change my trust in Christ, and nor does it alter my confidence in the confrères who are given to me in my community. So, no matter where I am, my mission remains the same. With the growth of an international Mennaisian network, a multitude of new educational initiatives have seen the light of day.
As someone involved in pastoral work in Mennais school, I aim to welcome students and colleagues each morning with a smile. It's an effective way of expressing of our gospel values, welcoming others as they are, especially when they are going through difficult times, and accompanying them on their journey. At the Mennais Centre, I can develop my skills in information technology, and I also receive spiritual formation adapted to my age. Nothing long-lasting will ever be achieved without education. And this is precisely what we have to do in our world today, particularly with the young people here in Africa. We have such to do to help them find meaning in their lives, to help them grow, and in so doing help their countries to grow also. I think that we are successfully fulfilling the desire of Jean-Marie to take care of the most needy, the poorest, those who require the most assistance and encouragement, so as to live and find meaning in their life. I am filled with hope today when I see all signs of life in my congregation, generous young people, laity who willingly give of their time and energy, brothers full of projects.
That really makes me happy, that these people I'm bringing up, I know they can be good in the future, for the church, also for the country.
More than 170 young brothers are currently in formation and training through the congregation, preparing to take over from their elders, and more lay people are expressing their desire to live out the Mennasian spirit committing themselves as members of the Menaisian family to share in our missionary, charism, fraternal communion, and spirituality.
The expansion of the international Mennaisian network has meant that brothers and lay Mennaisians today have responsibility for over 200 schools and educational centres in 26 countries on all continents. This means more than 700 brothers, active or retired, who work with over 10,000 lay educators, both female and male, at the service of about 100,000 children and young people across the world. As I approach my 80th birthday, I also come closer to the end of my life's journey. I do so with the same spirit as someone just setting out on theirs, with projects in mind, with courage in my heart, with a smile on my face, and with a faith full of hope, which has never abandoned me. It's as if I could see all our future work through the eyes of my fellow brothers. I so wish to continue supporting them for as long as possible on the paths of this time, which is no longer my own.
I get what I want, I do what I please. I'm never gonna stop till I get what I need.
The project dreamed by Jean-Marie of La Mennais is still very much alive. His dream continues to become a reality throughout the world, thanks to educators with a passion and desire to help the young, particularly the weakest and most disadvantaged. These people are women and men rich in humanity, attentive to God's call, open to transcendence. Being a priest, a founder, an educator, pioneer, and a man of action all in one, Jean-Marie de La Mennais never gave up when faced with challenges. For him, no barrier was ever insurmountable. All his life he sought to save children and young people, burning with the same passion and generous spirit as the like-minded individuals who joined him in his projects.
Brothers, sisters, dear friends, it is time to wake from your sleep. This world needs you. Get up and walk with renewed energy. Encourage each other. And so generously. So generously. And you, young man, how are you going to change the world?